the live stream is preparing itself. Right. So we are live, and it's so wonderful that we've actually been able to put this together after planning of about doing this for a while. And before we get into what this podcast is about, why you see these four, diverse faces on your screen if you're watching this, and what we're here to talk about, you know a fair bit about us, you know a fair bit about this channel, and with live sessions and classes, we like to begin with some mantras first. So we'll just start off with some basic mantras, and then we'll get into the topic, the main topic that we're going to be discussing today. It's about better mental health, cultivating better mental health by inculcating the principles of Vedic astrology, alternative healing methods, and such, and taking a unique perspective about what mental health is, about the way that our minds are designed, how we are different, and how we can unlock the power of our minds by just taking a little bit of a holistic approach towards all of the tools, all of the perspectives and principles available to us. So we're going to get right into that. Before we do, let's start off with some mantras. Mantras for Lord Ganesh, Goddess Saraswati, and let's get started. Gajananam Bhutaganadisevitam Kapitajambu Falasara Bhakshitam Umasutam Shokavinashikaranam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Sadananam Kumkumaraktavarnam Mahamatim Divyamayuravahanam Rudrasya Sunam Surusainyanatham Guham Sadaham Sharanam Prapadye Ya Kundendu Tusharaharadavla Ya Shubhravastravita या वीणावारदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्मच्युत शङ्करप्रभृतिभिर्दैवैः सदा पूजिता समं पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजड्यापहा. We thank the universe for giving us an opportunity to come together and create this wonderful energy of wisdom and learning. We thank the universe for giving us an opportunity to work towards becoming more conscious and leading others as well to a higher knowledge of themselves, of the universe, higher plane of consciousness. Hari Om. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It's such a pleasure to have you guys here to actually be doing this. And before we get into the podcast, I want to introduce to the viewers that these wonderful people are my students and also individuals that I've been working with since we met in the Astro Life Coaching Practitioner course. That we completed the first batch for, I think, around about January or February this year. And since then, we've been working together. We've been working on this topic. We've been researching, and here we all are to talk about this topic. So, you guys feel free to chip in with anything to get this started, get the ball rolling. Who's gonna go first? How about Bridamji? First of all, let's talk a little bit about yeah, let's talk a little bit about the course. Let's talk a little bit about how we started this, and what led you to take those steps to reach to this point. Yeah, all yours.
Yes. Hi. So yes, I had the pleasure of taking your Astro Life course since we started back in October.
Right.
And I have been studying astrology for the past 5 years. And yeah, it's opened a lot of doors in my mind as to the spiritual aspects of what astrology also can do for you. Yeah.
That's
And
good.
I'm yes.
That's good. That's good. There's a lot that we're going to be talking about as we progress. So it's good. And I'd like to tell our viewers that all of us are joining from I think 4 different countries at the moment. I am in New Delhi. Maulik ji, he is
Canada, yeah.
in Canada right now. Pritam ji is I think on the West Coast in the US.
Yes, I'm in Oregon in the
Right,
US.
right.
Yes.
And Sylvia G is joining us from
Czech Republic.
Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia, right?
Czech Republic now.
Czech Republic, Czech Republic. Yes, Czech Republic. So yeah, it's a fairly diverse mix that we have here. Sylvia G, a little bit for our audience about what it was like to be a part of the course. How did all the pieces move and work together, for us to be working together on researching and, working on clients, etc. And up till this point, just share your views so we can
Yeah,
break the ice and get things started.
big to do that. Well, the truth is I never accessed any course,
Mm,
so it was kind of surprising for me because I was interested in astrology since I was kind of little,
mm,
but none of the courses like moved me in the heart to like sign in. So it was surprise for me in autumn, and more surprise I received because of the um, very personalized attention that you actually gave to the course,
mm,
and also that I could get all the answers for the individual questions that I had during the like past 10 years that I was more from
mm,
Western astrology to the Vedic astrology.
mm.
It was important for me because yeah, if you self-study, there are still things that you are not sure about.
Right.
And the last thing that I actually received very practical information that for me it's the most important, something that I can really use.
Mm,
So yeah, that's the most important for me. So I can really try that it really works, and I can know it now that uh, it can affect someone's life. Yes.
right. Right. No, I remember the doubt sessions that you would come in the evening, and I would say, so anybody who has any doubts, and it'd be you in the what do you see on the screen? Yes, I have a lot of questions, Jay. I have a lot of questions, and that was fun. That was good. No, I think that was one thing. That was I enjoy the doubt sessions. I obviously enjoy the lectures, but that's where you getting more content, and I'm teaching. But
Yeah.
the doubt sessions were where I actually had a lot of fun. Where people would ask questions, and other people would get to learn from the questions that somebody is asking. There will lot, informal sort of an interaction in 90 minutes. That was quite a bit of fun, right?
Yeah, and I think there is actually a lot of information out there that you can access through the books, through the articles, through the
Right.
internet. But then you need really, some perspective from somebody who knows about it a little bit more than you. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, One small thing I'd like to say before, we move to Maulik and get his ideas as well about the course and about the program and about what we've been doing is that um, one thing that I was very conscious of, that I've always been very conscious of, that I've always talked about in my answers on Quora, in my articles, in my videos, is that Vedic astrology is not just one book. It's not just the BPHS that you read and you're like, this is what will happen, that is what will happen. It's not just the Gemini suit. Vedic astrology is like Jyotish is just a subset of the vastness of Vedic knowledge, which talks about so many different things, right? And so it's actually the long ago, when the Vedas, even before they were written down. So they were written down much later, and that is why quite often that we have get into these debates with respect to how old this knowledge really truly is. The Vedas were transferred through speech, through memorizing and sharing, and so once you study the Vedas, then you would sit with the teacher, that cliched image of that teacher sitting under a tree and people talk, discussing with him. That is what the Upanishads were. Upanishad. You would sit with the teacher and you would discuss, and a lot of that dialogue is actually what further elaborated what was talked about in Vedic knowledge. So I just want to add that here. So I tried my best to incorporate as much of that as possible into the course, because unless we're talking about spiritual and sometimes esoteric and metaphysical things, which may not seem directly related with Vedic astrology, it's not unless you touch upon those things that you actually understand the purpose of a lot of this knowledge and what you actually should be using it for. What's the point for you as a holistic coach? Anyways, I can go on and on. Everybody's aware of that talent of my. Maulik, please share
Yeah.
your ideas. How is the course for you, and what are the small steps that you've taken that have led you up till this point? How has
Oh yeah.
been, and what has kept you interested? And nice group dynamics, So, just your honest
Yeah,
take.
for sure. So first of all, I'm very grateful for the universe and you that I was able to get this opportunity to learn from it. So like when I was looking when I joined your course, there's a like story behind it. Like once came across a video. I was looking for my placement, like Ketu in first round in seventh.
Mm.
Like I watched it, I related to it too much. And then the next day I went to your channel and there was a video that I'm releasing a course. So I was like, okay, universe is giving me science. Like I was looking forward to learn from someone. Like I was finding a teacher. So I was like, I need to learn this. I need to check this out. Then I looked at your brochure. So
Right.
I was like, this is a like I find the module very good. And when I started learning it, I was like, yes, this is working because it was very structured
Right.
and you taught us like 7 to 8 like limited methods so that we can work on it.
Yeah.
And there's like we don't have to use all methods. We just only have to use 7 to 8 so to properly analyze the chart. And there was also one more idea that nowadays Jyotish is like people are mostly doing only predictions. They're
Right.
not like properly guiding people in the right way, not coaching like how to go on in life. So I was
Right.
looking forward to that too. And this course had taught me like how to do that very properly and practically.
Right. No, thank you so much for, sharing that. And yeah, I don't know how many people expected there to be an interview, with respect to the, part of the process. That no, I'm going to interview. I want your details also. I want to be sure that our plan is matched before we can actually, start working together. What the hell? That seems strange. Did that seem strange to any of you guys, or did you feel that, that's okay? I mean,
It
that's
made sense.
it made sense, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because sometimes what can happen quite often people don't realize is that somebody can have a great style of teaching, but that style of teaching just doesn't what do you say work with yours. And so if it doesn't work with yours, then it's just not going to work out because you may just learn in a different way, right? But yeah, enough talking and discussion about the course. I'm thinking that we should get started on the topic that we have today. And the most important aspect of this topic is mental health and taking an alternative perspective towards mental health, holistic approach to building a strong mind. Now, what do we mean by having a holistic approach to building a strong mind? What really is at work here? A holistic approach basically means it's not a holy approach, it's not a spiritual. Holistic means that we have to look at everything together. So when we talk about the mind, we have to look at the fact that people's minds inherently can be different, and there is no better mind or worse mind. The mind of a physicist and the mind of, let's say, a horse trainer are not necessarily the same, but not necessarily better or worse in any way. They're just different ways of thinking, different ways of being. And In today's day and age, mental health is just a very big concern for all of us. Why? Because our jobs are demanding, our lifestyles are demanding, and everything that's going on in the world is definitely triggering people, even who do not have mental health problems. And so, having the necessary tools, having the necessary awareness to address and work with and develop the unique wiring that the universe has given you with respect to how you think is, I would say, what is the most important in today's day and age when we talk about mental health. Because some people can be intense, but then they can be great poets. So there's a lot of chaos that goes on in people's minds, and so Van Gogh probably had a lot of chaos in his mind, but I don't think that he would have been able to create masterpieces that he did if he didn't have all of that chaos in his mind. Beethoven probably had a lot of chaos in his mind, but I don't think he would have been able to continue to create music even after going deaf if that wasn't how his mind worked. But at the same time, the pilot of an airliner, you need his mind to be a certain way, in addition to probably the salt and pepper look that you want, of him having enough experience under the belt to be able to drive hundreds of passengers across the Atlantic. So that's there. But with respect to mental health, when we're talking about it, mental health is not really um, how you feel about your life and how good or bad. Mental health is also having the necessary mental hygiene habits with respect to what you're allowing into your mind. What thoughts do you allow to fester? What thoughts do you allow to grow? What thoughts have an internal conflict going on in your head? Mental health is a combination of all of the factors that have anything to do with how your mind thinks in its unique way, but also how it is in the day to day right now, how you're dealing with the stresses of being a new parent, how you're dealing with the stresses of what's going on in the world, the coping mechanisms, as well as a general understanding of how much in alignment you are with respect to your spiritual purpose, because the highest need that we have is the one of self-realization. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. But obviously, mental health, even though we know that that's the plethora of things that it is, there's a lot of taboo that surrounds it, that deters the communication and understanding and free exchange of ideas with respect to it. And so maybe, Sylvia, you can shed a little bit more light about the taboo that surrounds mental health and why the hell has that come to be so?
I just wanted to mention that talking about the nakshatras and the difference in each mindset or each type of the minds, for me, that's actually the most important reason why I sticked with Vedic astrology, because for me, when I discovered the mind of mine, it was big relief. And I was kind of old already. It was after Saturn return. So I just want to say that the relief that I had, like somebody actually explained and understood the way my mind works, was very important for me, because I didn't find it anywhere before. So, but talking about the taboo, about the mental health, you also mentioned very important thing, that it's mental health, it's health. And at least in my country, we weren't taught how to take care of it as a health, like every day, the everyday things, the small things, the steps. And yes, I do think that there are quite a big stigmas around mental health, like that truly people are quite afraid of talking about it, mentioning it, even sharing it with close ones, because there have been, I would have to probably go back to the history, but there have been always like the real fear that you will be judged by somebody, or that you will be seen as weak or incapable, and maybe that you may lose something, mentioning that you are not mentally very stable, I would
Right.
say. It
Right.
doesn't matter if it would be a job or a partner, but yeah. And in the past, I think it was so misunderstood that people had real fear, and it was serious that there will be in some asylum, or they will be separated from the society because they
Right.
might be dangerous, or because people know nothing much about it. So I think we have, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have a lot of information now going on everywhere in the internet, and it's easy to be assessed, but there is like very small level of being able to choose which information is the right one and which is not, like something like self-diagnosis, which might be difficult also in some cases.
No, you're right. So, there are clinical problems that you can have. There are general problems that you can have with respect to your mental health. And then essentially, I think every mind works in a different way. Some minds are weak in a particular area, some minds are strong in a particular area. And this is where that Vedic astrology actually gives us insights that you are not likely to find anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a moon in Vishakha can really make a person align towards going through and conquering whatever is stopping them, no matter what, because that is what the nature of Vishakha is. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
about the diplomacy. I need to just get this done. But at the same time, Vishakha natives quite often can be plagued by self-doubt. In the
Mm-hmm.
same way, somebody with moon in Rohini, their minds may probably be a little bit easier with respect to understanding, how to achieve the things that they want, a lot
Mm-hmm.
more stable in their approach. But then there can be a lot of jealousy that surrounds it. There can be a lot of insecurity as well that
Mm-hmm.
just surrounds them, and so that is the unique flavor of how their mind works. Is there is nothing necessarily good or bad. I mean, I understand that. So I am among the many things that I have been lucky enough to do. I have started in a master's in psychology as well. So that will be done when it will be done. But at the moment, I'm not really a certified, what you say, mental health professional to be able to make these statements. And I won't. But still, I think that in today's times, we have begun to identify ourselves too much with some aspects of our mind which just may be unique to us. For example, oh, he just has ADHD. Well, he may be probably very successful, in sales, he or she, a person who has that. But when you put that person in a box, oh, you have ADHD. When you put a person in a box, oh, you have OCD. When you put a person in a box in the sense that, oh, you suffer from anxiety. Now that's a big problem. You are debilitating and limiting that individual just by a diagnosis that somebody certified to make that did. But quite often that can be a death sentence. I mean, not literally, obviously, from the perspective of what that person thinks that they're capable of. People quite often can start believing that, oh, no, I have ADHD. I will not be able to do well in a career with respect to research. But really, it doesn't really, matter. It could change on the basis of the research, type of research that you're drawn to. Maybe not lab research, maybe market research is something, maybe actually being on the field could be something that could be very good, well suited to you. And so you avoided that, you avoided going for a, fellowship or PhD because that's the idea that you've carried with your mind, in your head. So I think that is one place where taking a holistic view definitely tells us a lot more about that individual in a different way, which in the traditional sense, in the usual scientific methods, we're just not able to do, right? And yes, there's still people who actually suffer through difficult, difficult, issues like clinical depression. Uh, but I think before clinically assigning a sort of identity or an ailment, attaching it to a person's identity, there should be a little bit more exploration on the basis of understanding, are other people like that in the same family as well? I mean, is that generally part of the culture? I mean, is that just how this person is? Maybe a person is just melancholic and they're very poetic and, that communist sort of maybe, and that's just how they are. That's just, how they like to be. And so I think that these are some important aspects that we need to take up as well, because the impact of modern lifestyles is as well a huge contributing factor when it comes to mental health, when it comes to how good we feel about ourselves and we don't, because we're not really living in accordance with what we evolved for. Certainly not to slave away at a keyboard, hunched in front of a monitor for 10, 12 hours a day, which is quite often what we have to do. So that does take a toll as well. And sometimes, before just putting a tag on somebody that this is what they have, it's important to also understand, okay, what is the lifestyle that you subject your body to, subject your mind to, that causes these things, right? Sylvia
Yeah,
back
I
at
think
you
really
again.
most of the people like live in the cities and in the Western civilization, or at least the ones that are probably seeing us today. And I really think that the two most important things are the first that you just said, that we've been for a million years living in the nature, really, like basically outside, moving with our small groups of families. And we will talk about it probably later on, about the effect of the nature. But if somebody would tell me this in the 21st century, I would say that it cannot have such a big impact. But as you just mentioned, the room with one PC computer where I will sit for 14 hours, there is the very important second thing, which is the human beings are highly social beings. Like even the introverted ones, as I am, really need connection, some kind of dialogues, and the real ones. We may today think that the social media contact with smileys is enough, but the truth is that it's really not enough for the whole being and for the well-being that we are trying to talk about today. So these two things, these strongly important things that we've been always in between generations, in tribes, having somebody like holding our backs, and now we are alone in one apartment,
Right.
affects us all more than we are probably even like willing to think of.
Yeah, I think in terms of evolution timelines, we've really jumped a few stages,
And one more thing is that even in the prisons,
right.
They don't, when they want to punish somebody, they don't take them away the food. They put them in the solitary room. That's
Right.
the worst thing they can actually do to the human being. So
Right.
even the one that will have great mental state, I think, will weaken being alone.
Yeah. I made a short, that's what you call them on YouTube recently. That Aristotle, I think he said that if you can live alone, then you're either a beast or a god, because it's that zone, when you are in that zone, you're either going to go over to the dark side and nothing is going to care anymore, or you're just going to transcend and understand all of this is in any case Maya, as we put it. Right, because
Yep.
when you are alone and when you are by yourself, and if there's anybody who's a night owl, you spend some time alone at night, things, relationships, how the way works, society, etc., it's sort of begins to seem almost like it's surreal, because when you just by yourself and when you are peaceful, you feel that the things that you need to survive are actually not a lot. And that can either be a good experience or that can be a bad experience, because then that pushes you inward to look at and confront a lot of other demons that you may have or other ideas that you may have. I think so. Yeah, that's one important factor, because the concept of family, the concept of community has steadily been breaking down as the state, has begun to gain more and more control over our lives and systems. Now, I'm not a leftist or communist. I'm just saying that when things started long ago, the community and family were more important. They were your primary support. Today, the government or the governing body has a bigger role to play on the structure of your life, on time, on insurance, on social security than your next door neighbor sometimes. And so that does have an impact on the level of happiness and fulfillment that you feel with respect to life, and then that does probably do something, right? So anybody wants to say anything to that? Add, you know, clarify? I mean, any thoughts on that particular topic
There's
in
only one
addition to?
more thing that it actually, the feeling part of something is something that a human being really needs to have a reason to get up in the morning when you don't have the best day. And that might be the reason, to be part of community or to be part of something that is meaningful. And when we are alone, you can like very easily lose it.
Right, right. Can you elaborate on be part of community? You mean working towards a common goal in that way? You mean?
Of course, and feeling part of it, like feeling that there is a great reason and you have great goal to go for. It's easier to feel it. Not easy, but easier.
Right, right. No, that's true. There's a reason. That is why that we need to build stronger mental health routines, because I think essentially what is also happening is that as individuals, we're caught up in this cycle of chasing stimulation and then chasing a way to numb ourselves down to be able to, feel still. So you need energy. Then what do? You go and get coffee, and you probably rely on cigarettes or cigars or tobacco or vape or whatever. And then you need to feel that you want to sleep again, and so then you turn to alcohol, and then you turn to other things, and so you're caught up in this cycle where uh, you aren't necessarily pursuing the right methods. This is where the holistic approach comes in very handy. You aren't pursuing the right methods that can work for you. For example, for an individual with Rahu-Moon, we're going to cover that soon in more detail. But just to start it off, for an individual with Rahu-Moon, you would probably advise that person, you know what, you're better off just prioritizing exercise. For an individual with a lot of Ardra in their chart, you know what, you're better off prioritizing hard physical work to keep yourself balanced. Those are the insights that you can get quite often, that tell you what can work for an individual, specifically, in consistency with their spiritual journey as well. Because if you're just taking a person's journey and their problems, etc., at face value with just their physical being, then I don't think that's a very fair assessment of their capability, of their unique journey, etc. Now, there is one thing here that I want to, talk about before we move on to some alternative methods that can be very beneficial. It is the nature of the mind, the nature of mana. So, in Sanskrit scriptures, you refer to the Bhagavad Gita or you refer to the Sankhya philosophy. The mind is very important from the perspective that the mind has been described as an entity which tends to be fickle, which tends to not be able to focus on one thing, which tends to lose itself from time to time. And so, although that is a very important aspect of defining the experience through which you grow and go, but there is an inherent understanding which has always been a part of Vedic culture that it is the nature of the mind, and it's very natural for the mind to not feel stable, to not feel that everything is at best, everything is good. And it is how you have to prioritize conscious action that actually brings about that stability that your mind requires. And that conscious action is not, working out, or that conscious action is not, let's say, um, completing your research. But that conscious action is what varies from person to person, the pursuit of their highest expression in the world. Like, how many of us will agree that if there is something that you enjoy, if you enjoy making music, or if, let's say, if you enjoy riding bikes, or if you enjoy painting, then doesn't matter what you're going through and how much effort that requires. As soon as you take out time to engage in that particular activity, more than taking a rest or going to sleep, it recharges you in a way that you cannot really explain. Why? Because you like it, but at some level, if it calls out to you as having some kind of a, higher purpose in your life, then I would say that, I think that that is something which recharges you instantly, right? And so, I just wanted to share that. And so, if you guys have anything to add to that, I mean, I just thought that's what I should share with respect to this. Maulik ji.
Yes, I agree with this a lot. I mean, you have to look at the mental aspect too when you're looking at a person. Like, it's very important. It's not only physical but also mental.
You're not
But
audible. You'll have to speak louder, a little bit louder.
oh, is it audible now?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree on it very much. Like, it's important to look both at the mental and the physical aspect of the person and the spiritual aspect. And I think if you're guiding a person, you should look at every aspect, not just one. So yeah.
Right, right. I think one of the things also that we're quite stuck in right now is that we want to have a pill for everything to make us feel better, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
It's like
100.
we are, yeah.
like
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, one ring to rule them all. Now that's what we're searching for, one pill to rule them all. So maybe Braden, you can shed more light on that that the pitfalls of the clinical methods of medicine treats everything, and how that is actually quite limiting. Braden ji.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said earlier, a lot of the time I feel like individuals are being placed into a box with a specific diagnosis, and then immediately they're being treated with a pill
Right.
that should cure all. And there's an overemphasis on medication. I think medication should be more of a Hail Mary, but instead it's at the front of the line. It's the first thing being used to treat patients, especially here in the United States. From my personal experience, I see friends, family, constantly being prescribed things, right? And I think trying something with less side effects at first may open up new doors. I am not a clinical professional by any means, but
Right.
could we be undervaluing patients' autonomy by rushing to medicate? Sometimes people are just navigating through a rough patch. Pain is a natural part of life. And when we jump the gun to diagnose and then medicate, we run the possibility of stigmatizing normal human responses. Quick diagnoses can attach labels that follow patients, especially kids, into adulthood. A 2018 study in pediatrics found that children diagnosed with ADHD often faced social stigmas and lower self-esteem, partly due to how labels shape perceptions. So yes, this sort of doom factor can make people feel defined by their diagnosis rather than empowered to grow through it.
Right, right. And then there's another thing which, so we're probably wading a little bit in controversial waters here, because the way that the algorithms work is that if you are talking about mental health, even with us putting it in the title of our live stream here, immediately the what you can do with respect to promote it, what you can do with respect to naturally promote it in the hashtags as well, that becomes very limited. unless there's a verified, proper, what do you say, account with respect to a medical professional or something of that sort.
Mhm.
Nobody even wants to listen to different perspectives with respect to it. But one of the things that happens is that some of these medications, for example, antidepressants, they can be very problematic in limiting what you feel then in other areas of your life. For example, as we discussed earlier once, in a prior discussion, it was just the four of us, that it can severely limit your ability to have experience orgasms. Now, why is that important? It is important if you want a good normal life, to experience intimacy with your partner, which quite often is what you rely upon to feel centered and balanced, rather than medication, rather than therapists, right? And so,
Right.
although it can be very good in helping people, let's say, who are suicidal, and that is where they are with respect to depression. But then, if you look at what a lot of the side effects of these medicines have, it's kind of, trading one problem for the other, rather than actually
Mhm.
truly fixing that problem completely, right?
Right. And or like also the idea of organic self-esteem, right? When medication is the first go-to, we shut down the beautiful process that is the human experience of working through something. Um that and those things aren't always easy, right? It's like weightlifting. Leg day forever sucks. But as long as you return and make it into a practice in time, you see results, and eventually that creates a sense of peace. Could medication be breaking down self-esteem over a long period of time, since it holds the individual back from working through life's problems organically? Um,
Right, right, right,
yeah,
right,
yes.
right. And alternative approaches can also have powerful effects, so-called alternative approaches, I would say, because a lot of these approaches quite often are common sense, you know. So, but depends on the culture, depends on the knowledge. For example, ashwagandha for anxiety is something which is commonplace here in India. We don't
Mhm.
even think twice about it. Oh, you suffer from a lot of anxiety, just take ashwagandha. But to somebody, maybe let's say in Brazil, they go like, "What? Like, is it FDA approved? Like, can you take it? Like, what's the deal with it? They sure? Are you sure there are no side effects with it?" So, I think a lot of it depends also from culture to culture. But yeah, all these alternative approaches can also be very powerful with respect to what they bring to the table. Moleki, could you shed more light on that?
Yes, I definitely agree. Like alternative approaches are very powerful. First
Hmm.
of all, like Brett and you like explained, like there are very many side effects of taking medicine.
Hmm.
But like there are alternative approaches like yoga, exercises, NLP and hypnotherapy. They don't have
Hmm.
any side effects. But
Hmm.
so when you are capable of naturally doing improving yourself, then why go to the medicine? Unless and until you are very medically unwell. So let's start with the yoga.
Right.
First of all, what would be the examples and the effects of yoga?
Hmm.
So before that, I would like to give a little background on yoga
Right.
because it's a very misunderstood concept in today's world,
Hmm.
like how it is popular.
Hmm.
So currently, it is popular. It is mainly related with the word asanas, but
Hmm.
asanas are just a part of it. It's a process. Asana is a process, like which builds us.
Right.
So, what is the objective of yoga
Hmm.
mainly? So, the main objective of yoga is to end all of our suffering and miseries of our life, in short. And to do that, we have to stop our mind, our chitta. So, to do that, there's a eight-step process to do this. So, it is called Ashtanga Yoga, if you have heard of it.
Right.
So, like before that, like yoga is one of the six Shad in the Astic school of philosophy.
Hmm.
So these six philosophies works in pair, and Samkhya and yoga are like naturally paired together.
Hmm.
So so for the like yoga is considered as the Indian psychology. It covers all the aspect of our mind and our physical part. So for example, like I'll explain the Ashtang. Ashtang means eight limbs. So there are
Hmm.
eight limbs of yogas, eight processes of yogas.
Hmm.
They are all in hierarchical order, and you have to complete the previous step to move on to forward.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the eight steps are yamas, which covers the social equation of a person. Second are the niyamas, which covers
Right.
the personal equation of the person. Third are the asanas, which
Hmm.
covers the physical part, anatomy, and structure.
Hmm.
Fourth is the pranayam, which
Hmm.
is the physiological part
The breath
and which
work.
covers the
Right.
systems in the body. Yeah.
Right.
Fifth
And the
one is
fifth.
the pratyahar,
Hmm.
yeah, which covers the mental aspect. Sixth
Hmm.
is the dharana, which
Hmm.
covers the psychological aspect. And seventh is the dhyan, and eighth is samadhi. So every step is meant to go higher. Like you have to complete first, like the previous one, to go higher. Yeah. So what are the effects of yoga? Like what are the side how can it benefit you? So
Hmm.
first one is it reduces depression, anxiety. So studies shows that yoga lowers the symptoms of major depressive disorders and reduces anxiety by regulating stress hormones like cortisol.
Hmm.
Second is it enhances psychological resilience. Like practicing yoga, especially during the stressful periods like COVID-19, help
Hmm.
improve emotional stability and coping mechanisms according to the studies. It also improves our sleep quality. Yoga and meditation techniques help regulate the nervous system, leading to a better sleep pattern. So it also gives physical health benefits as it lowers our blood pressure, as it increases our cardiovascular health by reducing stress-related hypertension. It also boosts our immune function and increases flexibility and strength. So recent research highlights the significant impact on yoga on mental well-being. A systematic review and meta-analysis found that yoga can effectively reduce symptoms of depression, improving mood and lowering anxiety levels. So another study on Isha Yoga, like it's a Sadhguru Foundation Isha Yoga,
Hmm.
during COVID-19 pandemic revealed that regular practice of yoga enhances psychological resilience and reduces stress. So there are some recommendations I would like to give if a
Hmm.
person is going through anxiety or having sleep problems, like what can they do? So the most like basic thing a person can do is do a practice of slowing down their breath. It's the most effective way a person can calm down. It's a part of pranayam. So what can they do is bring their inhalation and exhalation ratio to 1:2. So how much you inhale, exhale the double of that. Okay. So you can also do pranayam practice like do kriyas like Anulom Vilom or Kapalbhati. So it can also lower down your anxiety levels, calm you down, and bring you more energy in the body. So there's also like you can practice meditation, like you can do the guided meditation if you're a complete beginner. And also for the Rahu-Moon people, guided meditations are very effective in the starting because they have issues with like overthinking and like that. So listening to a guided meditation helps in stress relief and emotion regulation. They can also try body scan meditation and frequency meditation, which will come afterwards, like listening to frequencies.
So
So
I just, you know, uh, that's quite enlightening from the perspective of the theory, pardon me. But from a practical perspective, for the viewers that are watching, are there any yoga asanas that you can suggest for the layman that, okay, if you're encountering a lot of stress or if you're having a meltdown, if you're, encountering a lot of anxiety, these particular yoga asanas can be very beneficial in helping you feel better, helping you feel centered? Any
yeah,
that
I
you could?
definitely can recommend some asanas. Though there are two asanas I would definitely recommend. So the first one is the Balasana, which is the child pose. It helps in relieving stress and fatigue and calming the mind down and bringing more energy to the body. The second is the Bhujangasana, which is
Hmm.
also known as the Cobra pose.
Hmm.
It helps stimulate the heart and promotes energy flow. And it also helps in counter lethargy and depression. So as for the like the jumping to the next part, what are the examples and effects of exercise? So this is the most underestimated thing people avoid, like doing exercise. So exercise is something which can help you a lot for both grounding and for both of your physical body.
Right.
So the first effect of, like helps in elevate the symptoms of depression. So, a study published in Neuropsychiatric Disease and Treatment found that regular physical activity significantly reduces symptoms of depression. Exercise can be as effective as conventional treatments, offering a natural and accessible way to improve mood and emotional well being. So the second is the enhancement of sleep quality. Another study emphasizes the role of exercise in enhancing sleep quality. Moderate intensity workouts can help reduce sleep latency and improve overall sleep efficiency. However, the timing and the intensity of exercise can influence these effects. It also helps in reducing stress and anxiety, and it helps in enhancing cognitive functions as it improves memory, focus, and learning by increasing blood flow of the brain. So, you know, yeah,
No, no, that's great. I just thought maybe we can elaborate on what kind of impact are we looking at from a person's mental health perspective. Let's say, by combining NLP, by combining exercise, by combining what you say, yoga, in and making a program for an individual, let's say, who suffers a lot from anxiety or who suffers a lot, let's say, from ADHD, as against putting that person on medication, and the difference that these two approaches can make with respect to you know uh, that person's life and that person being able to function and work a certain way. I mean, if you could shed more light
yeah,
on that, because
for sure,
common sense says that if you're applying four different approaches as against just the one, that probably should work out better. So, I mean, if you could just elaborate on that, what do you think about it?
for sure. So, so what? Say, there's a lot of difference because, like, taking a medicine from outside, it's like an external source. It can bring you side effects and everything. So, but if you choose yoga, NLP, or exercise,
Hmm.
you're doing it yourself. Like, it's your own doing it. It's not any external source forcing you to do it. Like, not any for external element going inside you.
Right.
So, yeah. So by doing this, the NLP exercise, yoga, hypnotherapy, it helps you direct your energy in a right way. For example, if a person has a lot of energy and he's spending all of his energy in like in thinking, like that's the main issue of the overthinking anxiety. So his energy can correctly be directed when he exercises or do the yoga. And if a person is suffering through, if he's not able to forgive, he's not confident, he can use NLP or hypnotherapy to fix that issue, which like the mainstream of medications can't really do unless they're giving medicines to the person, disturbing the chemicals in the brains.
But yeah, somebody can make an argument that, when you're not in that state of mind, you don't want to take the first step in the first place to do anything. You don't want to do yoga. You don't want to go out and get yourself out. With NLP, I know that works. That was one of the modules as part of the program, and that was the last module that we covered. With
Yep.
NLP, you can really work a lot of wonders, in fact, by changing your relationship with your memories. For example, one of the things that NLP can help you do is anchoring. Okay. And anchoring is something which can be very beneficial for somebody who, let's say, tends to feel ungrounded, tends to, feel paranoid, tends to feel that, oh my God, everything is falling apart, nothing's going to happen, right? That's something that NLP can help. Can you tell us all a little bit about what anchoring can actually do and how it
Oh, for
works?
sure. Yeah, I can tell you about the anchoring. So the main purpose of anchoring, like it's a process of associating a positive emotional state, like for example, confidence or calmness, with a physical gesture or a touch. Like physical gesture can be like a snap of fingers. It
Hmm.
can be anything or tap on the thigh. Can be any physical gesture. So like how to use this, like how anchoring is done. So for example, you can recall a time when you felt confident, calm, or happy. So try to immerse yourself in that memory fully. And then while experiencing that positive feeling, create an anchor like by snapping your fingers like this. It can be left hand or right hand or both hands. It depends on you for which you are creating an anchor for. So you have to repeat the process several times to so that the association of it strengthens with your brain. And in moments like if you're doing it for anxiety, like to calm your mind down, so in moments of anxiety, depression, or low confidence, you can use that particular anchor to trigger the positive emotional state. For
Right.
example, for me personally, I have my anchor for to gain more focus. Like when I snap this finger right on my right hand, I go into focus mode. Like I set that anchor for me.
Right, right, right. For example, if you guys have watched a lot of my videos, clap right before a video. That sets my mind in that sort of state that, okay, now this is what I have to do, and this is how I have to think, and this is the time duration roughly for which I have to speak, and so I'm shooting a video, right? Another thing is that, an improvisation that I've made is that, so this, round pebble is one that I picked from, bank of the Ganges in Rishikesh. And this was a cave where legendary sage Vashisht is said to have meditated for, I think, 100 years with his wife, after he lost all of his sons in a uh, fight with sage Vishwamitra, who was another, legendary sage. And so that was a very pure sort of a place. And you can check that out. I've, made a video on that as well. But so I picked this up, and the way that I have wired it as part of my brain and made it into an anchor is that every time that I touch it, every time that I am sort of fiddling with it, it reminds me of the meditation that I did in the cave, the meditation I did on the banks of that river, that experience, the energy of that place, and it has a very calming and soothing effect. And even if I wanted to, let's say, fake it with respect to something else, that may not really work because I've put so much practice into it. So NLP also works in ways that it helps you rewire the relationship that you made with the coping mechanisms when you see yourself in a downward spiral. What you do and how you handle that. So when you catch yourself getting into a spell of anxiety, what do you do? Like NLP can really help you change that. It can help you change your relationship with your phobias as well. So let's say you were scared of lizards. Well, train your mind, and so this is what you would do: neuro-linguistic programming. Train your minds to imagine, animals that you really find cute and that you find wonderful, and consistently go back to that memory when you are approaching those difficult circumstances or situations. So that is something that definitely can be very beneficial. I just wanted to understand, however, a little bit more about hypnotherapy because that is something very interesting. I've always been very interested in hypnotherapy. From the time I was a child, I used to try to hypnotize my classmates as well. If there are a few watching this, I'm sure they would remember. And don't you think like that? Like, is that something that really works? Hypnotherapy. I mean, isn't that something which is more like magic? Making somebody behave like a chicken and all of that.
I mean,
Like
like
after the click of
like
my finger, you will be a chicken, something like that.
I mean, no, it's not like that, but if like hypnotherapy is now used practiced by like a lot by licensed physicians and psychologists to treat conditions like depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Yeah, like it is hugely widely used in today's world. So it's a very acceptable way as psychologists also use it. So what is hypnotherapy like? So let's get started on that. So
Hmm.
it's a therapeutic technique that involves the use of hypnosis to help individuals achieve a state of focused attention, suggestibility, and deep relaxation.
Hmm.
So in this state, the individuals are more open to positive suggestions and can access the subconscious mind to address the issue like stress, anxiety, phobias, and more. So how can it help? Like it helps in reduction of anxiety and stress. So studies have shown that it can significantly reduce stress,
Hmm.
and it can help the nervous system encourage the release of relaxation hormones. So this effect can also particularly be beneficial for individuals with generalized anxiety, phobias, or chronic stress. So it also helps in the management of depression, enhancing mental health and quality of life, and it also helps in treatment of phobias. Like There's a study which examined the effectiveness of hypnotherapy for individuals with PTSD. It found
Okay.
that hypnosis helped in psychological recovery by allowing participants to process traumatic memories, reduce stress, and alleviate the emotional impact of the past trauma. So the study, like hypnotherapy was shown to be a complementary treatment for PTSD. And it was, yeah, study done in 2024.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, so there are proper certifications, like accepted, like medical sort of certifications with respect to licensed hypnotherapy practitioners and stuff like that.
Yeah, like psychologists use it today, like to treat conditions, hypnotherapy.
Right, right, right. No, you know what? One very interesting sort of thing comes to mind here. I just like to add, then we open up this topic, and Braden ji and Sylvia ji can also weigh in, with respect to their perspectives. Is that there was this very famous show, House MD. The guy, the protagonist, was a gifted doctor, but he was eccentric, and so he walked with a limp and everything. And so he encountered a case where, and this can quite often happens, that when you lose a limb, right, and let's say you've been flexing your limb, you made a fist, and then let's say you were to lose that hand, it stays that way neurologically, because neurologically you cannot unflex it. And so quite often, even though there's nothing there, your mind keeps telling you that it's still tight, it's still flexed, and you can keep going through a lot of pain. And so what he did was, he made that guy put his hand in a box with a mirror. And so in the mirror image, he could see, with his good arm, right? He had lost his left arm. In the mirrored image, he could see the same arm, and he kept his hand on the side, and he made him open and close it a few times. And he tricked the mind basically into thinking that he was opening up the fist on the hand that he had lost, right? And that is something that anybody who is watching this is encouraged to check out. That is a real phenomena that does happen, that you can often have neurons firing up like crazy even after you've lost a particular limb, because the mind recalls when it had that part in possession, it can continue to work that. So if something like this can work, I'm sure hypnotherapy can also work. I'm sure that NLP can also work, and I'm sure that with yoga and exercise, I think that if you combine all of these things, you have a lot of tools that can really be very effective if you don't limit yourself to just relying on medicine, just relying on treatment, and feeling that you suffer from an ailment or that you're sick. That's just something I thought maybe I'd share. Any of the ladies, if you'd like to add anything to that before we move to the
Well, there is just going in my mind the thing that we probably mentioned at the beginning, but that yoga and LNP and all the techniques that we are talking about the mental health, and that we are used to take care of our bodies, like we eat well and we brush our teeth, and we are not always creating the routine of taking care of the health. Like Brenda G mentioned, we all want to take a pill, but the yoga means the easiest and the best way is to really make the routine and do it 10 minutes every single day, like you doing all the rest of the taking care of the body. We are bathing, we are brushing, we are brushing our hair, washing ourselves. So why not to add 10 minutes for the mind as well?
Right. No, definitely, that's true. Prevention is better than cure, right? So it's very difficult to feel depressed when you are getting yourself out of your comfort zone and doing a few asanas at the start of the day for 10 minutes. And then for 5 minutes, you're practicing NLP exercises. And then for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, let's say you are exercising, you're on the treadmill. And so if in the first 35 minutes, 40 minutes, this is something that I do often with my clients, want to bring about change, is that the first hour of your day should be dedicated to what you want to see in the future in your life, right? Because that's when you have the most energy. You've just come out of, sleep and rest. And so if in that first 35 minutes you can practice these four things, it'll be very hard for your mental ailments to really overpower you, right? What do you think about that? Pradhanji?
Yeah, I think grounding positivity at the beginning of the day could be really beneficial. I know, yeah, for me, personal affirmations, as soon as I started implementing them at the beginning of my day, I saw differences. At first, they felt sort of cheesy, but
Right.
they definitely do work and make a difference.
Yeah. That's something I think definitely. And this brings us to a very important topic here, going deeper into the Vedic knowledge, uh, the Vedic astrological perspective here. How much assessing a person's Jyotish blueprint can tell us about what that person may have a tendency towards. For example, Rahu-Moon individuals, I touched upon this in the beginning, quite often are very unconventional thinking individuals. Their mind also works in unconventional ways. And so it's quite possible that the way that a Rahu-Moon individual looks at the world is not how a normal person will look at the world. The fears that a Rahu-Moon individual has towards the world is not the kind of fears probably that a normal individual might have. And so if you are trying to, let's say, get this person to feel the same way, to feel normal, let's say, in the same bracket as everybody else, without taking into account the unique spiritual journey that they have. Because if you have the North Node conjunct the Moon, then obviously this lifetime is about your soul mastering the lessons of emotions, learning to control and develop your mind and emotions. And so your physical waking reality will just give you opportunities where you experience a lot more of that, right? And so Sylvia ji maybe can take up this section and elaborate on that a little bit, give us some examples.
Yeah,
And
the truth is that I don't have Rahu-Moon conjunction, but the truth is that they must be experiencing some kind of tension. And at the same time, you already mentioned that, I really think it may be advantage if they find the way how to use it, because they can really think out of the box, and that can actually make them very special, I would say. Because when I was looking at the people that do have Rahu-Moon conjunction, it's very big variety of people. And there are people like Friedrich Nietzsche or Stephen Hawking, or even like Karl Marx. And then I found out that even the best tennists in the world, like Rafael Nadal and Venus Williams, they have very strong conjunction of Rahu Moon, and they became the best in the field that they chose. And then there were people like Pablo Escobar and Charles Manson that we could say that they maybe misuse it a little bit, but I have to mention that we have to take the whole chart in content. But still, they do have very close, very small conjunction of Rahu Moon, like 2 degrees. So yeah, it might be difficult. And then there are people like Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and Satya Sai Baba. So I really think mentioning all these names, that there is something very unique about the way how they used it, because they created something very unique.
right.
Karl Marx, when I'm saying that I'm in Czech Republic, he basically changed the history of nations, because he brought in the communist philosophy,
Yeah.
which of course then marked the whole century of
Right.
many countries all around here. So
Right. Yeah. And so if anybody who's watching this and, that you feel a little bit confused, let's backtrack a little bit. So the moon definitely has an impact on our moods in our lives. because the moon, if it can cause high tides and low tides,
Mm.
if the astral companions that we have, other planets in our solar system can have an impact on the asteroids that do or do not hit the Earth, right? So there's Jupiter, there's Saturn. They're on the outside of the solar system. They're controlling who can go in and at what speed and in which direction. And there's the moon, controlling the tides, and there's the sun also, doing its own thing and influencing us. It'd be. I don't think it'd be fair and logical and purely, truly scientific for us to ignore the effect that these bodies are also having on individuals who are made up of 70% water. I mean, it's not possible that the moon is only having its impact on the oceans and not on your bodies, which is 70% water, right?
Yeah.
So, can you elaborate on that a little bit, Braden, and enlighten our viewers with respect to the moon and, you know, this is actual observed scientific phenomenon, the impact that it has on, what do you say, the Earth, etc. If you could just,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the moon's gravitational pulls play a huge role in the formation of the tides. According to NASA, the movement of the tides is actually a cycle of subtle shifts in the distribution of Earth's oceans. And like you said, the moon isn't the only influence. The sun also affects the tides as well. Twice a month when the Earth, the sun, and the moon line up, the gravitational pulls combine to make exceptionally high and low tides called spring tides. And the pull doesn't get any stronger than that. We also have new moons and full moons that coincide with that, called
Right.
supermoons, 4 times a year. The last one just happened on the 29th of March during the solar eclipse. The
Right.
next one is on April 27th, and then we'll have one on November 5th, which is actually that's when the moon will be the closest to Earth all year around, and on December 4th. So yeah, the moon affects our waters greatly, and that brings me to whether or not the moon impacts human moods, right? So I was looking into some scientific
Right.
studies on that, and I came across 2 different cases that were both done in the early 80s. The first study, Full Moon and Crime, was published in the British Medical Journal by C.P. Thakur and Dilip Sharma. They studied the rate of crimes reported to 3 police stations in different towns, 1 rural, 1 urban, 1 industrial, to see if it varied with the day of the lunar cycle. The second study, Lunar Cycle and Poison Center Calls, was published by Oderda and Klein Schwartz. And this was an analysis made of all calls to the Maryland Poison Center to assess whether a relationship exists between the moon periods and poison exposure calls. Both studies concluded with greater activity during the full moon. The first study observed 183 full moons and 186 new moons. The physicians reported that 0.544 crimes per day on non-moon days and 1.4 crimes per day on full moon days. So the crime rate was approximately 2.57 times higher during the full moon, and they suggested that the impulse to take or to give poisons may increase on full moon days because of the increased human tidal waves. There was also a slight increase on new moon days. So for the second,
Yeah, so there's actually a verified correlation that they were able to see that there's something which is actually happening, right?
yes, exactly. Sorry, that was a lot of information, but yes, all in all, there is a substantial difference between how we're affected by the full moon versus full moon days and non-full moon days. And on the second study, Lunar Cycle and Poison Center Calls, they examined 22,000 calls over 13 lunar cycles, and their conclusion was a larger proportion of total calls and unintentional poisoning occurred during the full moon period. And suicide attempts and drug abuse occurred more frequently during the new moon cycle.
Okay. Okay. No, but I think that, yeah, this is something that we may want to say that logically it doesn't have a lot of, basis if you go with the pure scientific perspectives. But people will report, normal individuals, quite often clients, people, even if you observe, people will report feeling a little bit more lethargic around the full moon or the new moon, feeling a little bit on edge also around the new moon and full moon. These are also quite often going to be times when there can be some events that are happening in the macros which can be triggered, and you can say, okay, you know what, I mean, if you look at the newspaper reports, if you just look at violent activities, events, etc., that happen, and you compare that with what happened around the new moon or the full moon, you will be able to see quite a few instances coinciding with full moon, especially full moon in difficult nakshatras. Okay, and especially eclipses, because eclipses happen, on full moon days. Eclipses taking place on difficult nakshatra days, let's say, Vishakha or Mula or, Ardra. That can quite often be the case. So, yeah, why is this important? Coming back to what we were discussing with Sylvia ji about Rahu-Moon individuals and how Rahu-Moon individuals can think different ways. And in their thinking different ways, they quite often can be leaders of thought. And Rahu Moon conjunction, if you have, quite often means that you were born in or, around an eclipse, or at least that eclipse exists in your chart. So kind of bit of this energy does exist in that person's life, in their soul's, journey in this lifetime, right? And so we'll come back once again to Sylvia ji, and maybe, Sylvia, you can elaborate on that a little bit more. What uh, common patterns can be seen with individuals who have north node conjunctions, with the moon, in terms of their life, in terms of their ideas. Like, all of these people are definitely people who have led by their ideas, but a few of them have also been people who have been instrumental in causing, violent endings in other people's lives and have met difficult endings in their own. So,
No, but really mentioning the Rahu impact, I think there must be something that is very unconventional, and probably it's also giving them like I would say brave heart, because bring something unique, you must really feel that you can do it. So thinking out of the box at the same time, like going against maybe the normal society type of thinking, I would say, because most of them, like when I read the life about the Nietzsche, the success of his came really late in his life and a lot more after his death. And the Gandhi's life wasn't easy. The Hawking life wasn't, like, none of them had easy life in the terms of like bringing in the new things, but they did have the courage, which is interesting to see for me, like because they believed in it so much. But at the same time, I think very often they can really feel, because of so much thoughts, ungrounded, and they can really have like the issues you mentioned, overthinking, but also like being in the head kind of too much, like not taking proper care of their bodies or not thinking of grounding themselves. I think it can really help them.
right. Gandhi was, he was infamous for so many fasts that he used to do. All kinds
Mm-hmm.
of, if you read his autobiography, he experimented with a lot of different kinds of diets and foods.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he would go on he was a vegetarian, but sometimes he would go on a dairy only diet or a nuts and fruits only diet.
Oh,
He used to practice quite a bit of those things, to find out how far he could stretch, uh,
yeah.
limiting the sustenance of his body and how much it relied on the outer world. That's very interesting, right? Rahu Moon caught up too much in your moon is also nourishment, right? So Rahu Moon individuals, I think one of the things also that they could possibly be driven by is a need to feel nourished, a need to nourish others as well, and nourish themselves, right?
Yeah,
Correct?
I think really there is seen like some kind of extreme in their like approach of the life. Yeah, definitely. Mm.
Right. And
I was mentioning last time that I saw also all the English royal family, like King Charles
yeah,
and Kate and her husband and their daughter. They all have this Rahu Moon conjunction. And interesting for me is that if I imagine that my mother is a queen, it's not conventional mother. It's not, it's a little bit different than all the mothers of
right.
ours. um, so what I'm trying to say is that you mentioning the nourishment, and of course she has uh, very many things that she has to do. It's very complicated, and she might try to explain to their children that she wants to be there for them, but um, yeah, it's just very special combination, I think.
Right.
And one more thing that I wanted to say is when Brendan G was talking about the full moon and the new moon and the effects of the cycles, that when we are talking about the routines for Rahu Moon conjunction, like for the people that have it, the routine must be some kind of the like safety place of the basement, because the cycle of the moon will always go on, and the easy days when we when we get up, it's easy to go through, but harder days will always come as well. There will be like a change of the energies in the life. So if I have some kind of a routine, I can handle it way better.
Right. Britain G seems to be cold out there. Britain G, are you quite cold?
It is actually colder than I anticipated. It was warmer when we were rehearsing out here, but for whatever reason, it is cold even with the sun beating down on me. I'm like kind of shaking.
Do
So,
you
but
want to move if you want? I mean, if you could.
I think if I got up for like a couple minutes and just like warmed up my body, that would suffice.
Yeah, that fits the topic also that we're on. Rahu Moon. That's what a lot of
Yeah.
Rahu Moon people need to do. No, so why don't you can do what you need to do to feel a little bit warmer, because
Okay.
your what do you say, air is literally freezing as you're exhaling. Although
Oh,
sunlight is
yes, yes,
looking good,
yes.
and that's
Okay.
good. But Moliki, what kind of asanas or yogic exercises or something of that sort would you suggest for somebody who, let's say, has Rahu Moon conjunction in their chart?
For sure. Like like I would definitely recommend them the breathing work, like mindful breathing first of all, because the breathing tells you about your mental state. You will always see whenever you are overthinking or your anxiety, your breath will be faster and it will be not be rhythmic. So whenever you are like you having anxiety, overthinking, you can slow your breath down and you will notice that your mind will be calmer. And as for the asanas, they can start with the Bhujangasana
Hmm.
or the Balasana. I would definitely recommend that. Yeah.
Just a second. Braden G, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
I just want to say that you do what you need to do. We can see you in the window. I just wanted you to be aware of that
Okay.
because we're live. So so I wanted you to know that
Oh,
okay, we
thank
can
you.
see you in
Thank
that.
you for
No, you're just moving around. That's fine. You should just know that we can see you.
Okay.
Okay,
I think
okay.
yes.
Maulik ji, you were saying bhujangasanas, that is one thing. Uh, and anything else from the perspective of NLP, from the perspective of let's say, hypnotherapy from the perspective of yogic principles, that you would say that for somebody, who has Rahu Moon prominence, I think you would know this definitely. You must have, applied and looked at this in detail. That can be beneficial for an individual with North Node conjunct the Moon. Because if you have North Node conjunct the Moon, the way that I look at it, I actually look at everything from a tantric perspective. That means you're here to learn how to develop your third eye, because the moon rules the feminine side of your third eye, sun rules the masculine side of your third eye of your consciousness. You got Rahu conjunct moon. This is essentially what you're here to do, to develop your intuitive abilities as well, I would say. And so I would say Om chanting can be really beneficial.
Definitely.
Maybe applying some kesar, tilak here can also be,
I
beneficial.
actually applied it today. Like
Yeah,
I
I saw
applied every day.
that.
You can feel lightly on it, but I don't know if you can
Right.
see that.
Right. But besides that, are there any other things that you would suggest?
So, like Om chanting also very beneficial. Like it was very beneficial for me actually.
Om
Like
chanting.
when I started out,
Yeah.
I actually do it like whenever I said. But as for the NLP, like they can set like for anchoring, they can set your triggers to calm their mind down, like
Yeah.
positive. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they can also use reframing. So what is reframing? It's like changing the way you perceive a situation. So generally, like the Rahu-Moon people can be negative side of the mind, like overthinking about the negative side. So like if they're in these negative patterns, they can reframe their thoughts. Like whenever they have the negative thought, they can reframe it. For example, if identify how to use it, like identify the negative thought or belief. For example, I can't do this or I'm not good enough. So you can challenge this belief by asking question like, what's the positive intent behind this belief, or how can I look at that situation different from my angle? So you can reframe it like by saying, I can learn and improve, or I'm capable of handling this. Like changing it into a positive thought in immediately. So
Right.
by doing this slowly and slowly, it will change the mindset.
Right. 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 Instead of thinking, oh my God, here we go
Yeah.
again, you can see, okay, I got this. I got this, I can handle this. Right. That sort of a
Yeah.
way. That's how you mean? Replacing
Yeah.
that negative thought with a positive
Yeah.
affirmation. Right. Now, that's with Rahu Moon. But when you have Ketu Moon, so you have the South Node conjunct the Moon, something very different begins to happen along similar lines, but it's very different. Because with South Node conjunct the Moon, quite often individuals can suffer from anxiety as well, can suffer from just being detached from time to time. That can be the case. Because when you got South Node conjunct the Moon, that means in your previous lifetimes, from a spiritual perspective, if you look at it from that perspective, your soul has had a lot of experience when it comes with handling emotions. And this lifetime is not a lot about that. This lifetime is outgrowing that, outgrowing your emotions and becoming a lot more practical. Right, Ritanji?
Yes, exactly. It creates this sort of emotional detachment. As I was studying the Ketu-Moon conjunction, I came across uh a lot of different kinds of people when I was looking into who had this,
Mm,
and those people are Johnny Depp,
mm,
um, Xi Jinping,
mm.
Donald Trump, Sri Ravi Shankar, Joe Rogan, and Sharadi Rav. And when I was thinking about what brings all of these individuals together, I came up with a list of key themes, and those key themes are emotional detachment, public controversy as catalyst, strategic security, wounded feminine archetype, and this deep knowing.
Deep knowing.
And yeah,
Right. Yeah, most of these
uh,
people are wise. That's what you would say, right? Or very intuitive.
sorry, what was that?
Like most of these people are wise, would you say, or very intuitive?
Yes, wise, yes, and intuitive. Uh, yeah, and so I went further into, so with Johnny Depp, emotional detachment is there. He exhibits this through his art of acting. He truly becomes the characters that he plays.
Hmm.
And then public controversy as a catalyst. there was the notorious Depp versus Heard trial, which blew up
Mm.
across social media platforms. Depp eventually won the case. And then with the wounded feminine archetype, he stated that he had a poor relationship with his mother. Johnny Depp's childhood was characterized by emotional and physical abuse. During his testimony in the defamation trial, he described his mother as violent and cruel, highlighting both psychological and physical trauma. He stated the verbal abuse was sometimes worse than the physical abuse. So yeah, that is there. And then strategic security in the trial, Depp touched upon how him and his siblings were never exposed to any sort of safety or security. The only thing that one could do really was to try to stay out of the line of fire. He further states, I started to be able to observe and I could start to see when she was about to get riled up and someone was going to get it. And typically that was me. So this lack of security in childhood may have pushed Depp towards his ambitions in his career. Eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you describe his equation with his mother. With Ketu-Moon, I mean, he had a mother, but with respect to being able to derive the necessary, would you say, nourishment from that mother, that was severely limited, right? In true Ketu-esque fashion, that separation, that
Yes.
detachment, right?
Yes.
Another thing is
Yes.
that in the Amber Heard and versus Johnny Depp trials, quite often one thing that came up is that when confronted or when in a fight, Johnny Depp would quite often shut down and disengage and just want to not talk about it, and that used to anger Amber Heard even further. But that can quite often happen with Ketu-Moon individuals. Instead of dealing with their emotions, they can just decide to shut it down and then dissociate from that completely, right?
Right. Yeah. And with Yi Jinping, the way that he it relates to the emotional detachment is through the characteristics of his detachment. He rarely expresses personal emotions publicly. Media is highly curated, and even during crises like COVID-19, he responds with stoicism, slogans, and policy, not emotional language or body cues, right? And in K2 terms, this is like the headless general, the man who sacrifices the self to uphold the state, perhaps having no room left for personal vulnerability.
Right. With Ketu-Moon, it's like you have to be very, very controlled when it comes to your emotions, when it comes to secrets as well, because the moon can be secrets as well. So if you look at it from the perspective of, let's say, let's say Ketu-Moon individual is going through, a lot of anxiety, right? And they come to, a holistic life coach. So what is the advice that you would give to an individual, let's say, who has Ketu-Moon prominent? Like, take it easy, chill out once in a while. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I mean, I think practicing mindfulness and incorporating things that Mulakji touched upon, like yoga and meditation, could do a lot of good for a K2 Moon individual
What about visualization, positive visualization and things like that,
Yeah, I think that could help as well. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that manifestations and visualizations really have that, what you say, impact that, it should? Because quite a bit of the scientific audience thinks that it's a complete waste of time. So from your perspective, Molly, what would you say?
So, like manifestations does work. Like there are many scientific perspectives behind it. Like why does it work? Like the reasoning behind it. But before jumping into that, like let's discuss what is manifestation.
Hmm.
Okay, so it is currently popularized in the world by the word law of attraction, which
Right.
suggests the thoughts create reality.
Hmm.
So it is a belief that focusing on the positive thoughts and emotions that which can attract desired outcomes such as success, love, or wealth. But does it actually work? So there are many scientific perspectives on it. So while the idea of manifestation is often seen as a pseudoscience,
Mm.
but there are some scientific principles and psychological research that may explain why the practice appears to work for some people.
Mm.
So the impact of manifestation can be seen from perspective of psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral science. Though, yeah. So there are a few concepts I would like to discuss. So the first one is the power of positive thinking. So positive thinking and belief in achieving one's goals are linked to improved mental health and physical health outcomes. So this is supported by the research in psychology, particularly in like studies around optimism and self-fulfilling prophecies. So, like a study, meta-analysis in Shasher and 2001 suggests that optimism is associated with better health, well-being, and even longevity. It highlights the potential benefits of positive thinking for mental health. So, another effect that comes into play is the placebo effect. So it is when an individual experiences real changes in health or behavior due to their belief in effectiveness of intervention, even if the intervention itself has no components. For example, a person taking a sugar pill believing that it's a painkiller and the headache is going away. So the scientific explanation is the placebo effect can explain how manifestations might work. When someone believes that positive thinking or visualization can improve their life, their brain activate neural pathways that improve their mood, motivation, and alter behavior, all of which contribute to achieving their goals. So there's a study research published like in the Lancet in 2004, which
Mm.
demonstrated how a belief in treatment can trigger physiological changes in the body, supporting the notion that the belief system can have real world effects. So another interesting concept is the RAS system, which is in the brain, the reticular activating system. So it is a part of brain which involves in regulating wakefulness, and the filtering of the sensory information. It helps prioritize information that is relevant to the individual's goals. So when you focus your thoughts on a goal or a desire, such as manifestation, the RAS helps bring your attention to the opportunities that align with that goal. So you will see more of that opportunities, which whatever your goal is. So thus increasing the likelihood that you will notice and act on them. This explains why people focus on manifesting their goals to find the opportunities that they may have otherwise overlooked.
Right. Right. So basically, I mean, so if I were to summarize for the people who are watching this, there is sufficient proof that actually taking the time to visualize what you would want has at least a somewhat positive impact on you actually being able to align yourself towards those things,
Yes,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, so there is one more thing that research says that planning vacations is a lot more pleasurable than actually going on vacations because planning
Yeah.
vacations, you're always looking forward to, what you might do, what can happen. And it's when you're on a vacation, you know that, okay, the options are whatever is in front of you, do what you can with it, and you ultimately have to head back. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think with manifestations, I'm sure that all of us should have our own stories with respect to manifesting something that we wanted. Um, in my particular, what do you say, case, there's one story that I shared with you guys as well, is that there's a bike that I had that I sold during the pandemic because it did not make any sense at that time. In any case, I wanted to focus more on let's say driving a car and not being as sporty and what do you say free flowing that I can be as a strong Ashwini. And so I didn't want to do that. I kept thinking, I wish I had done that. I wish I could get that bike back. And recently, the guy I had sold it to contacted me that somehow he had been unable to transfer the what do you say documentation to my name in all of these years, and so now he wanted to sell the bike. So he wanted an NOC from me, no objection certificate. And I said, if you want to sell this, sell it back to me. He said, what? Do you still want it? Why would you still want it? I said, because I didn't want to tell you that in the first place. At that time, it seemed like we didn't know. The pandemic was coming and everything. And so the strangest thing happened. This person is not related with me. This person is not a friend. This person lives in a completely different city, few hundred kilometers from here. And so he comes back to me after, 5 years and says, you know what, practically this is what happened. That, okay, so I want to sell this bike. And I was like, okay, sell it back to me. And that's it. And I got it back. And interestingly, he wasn't even able to drive it much in those years. And I looked at the muhurtam of that exact date when I sold him that bike. So that was Punarvasu Nakshatra. Punarvasu is the nakshatra which guarantees a safe return. And that was Punarvasu Nakshatra on a Friday of, what you say, the forming a Shri Yoga. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence, but that'd be one hell of a coincidence. If that is what it is. I think that I think I pretty much manifested it back. I would say that. Right. Anything that you want to say to that, Maulik-ji?
Yeah, I would like to give my personal example, which
Yeah.
happened last year.
Right.
So it was around the time of April, May, it was almost this time. I was planning to get a bicycle. I was thinking it would be easier for me here to get a bicycle and ride around because of the bus service and the long distance that we have to travel. So
Right.
I was looking at the Walmart and other stores, and then it was almost my birthday, and then surprisingly my brother gifted me the bicycle, and I was
Very
like,
good.
oh, that was shocking. Okay.
But that could maybe have been him being a good brother, knowing what you needed.
I mean, yeah.
In all fairness. That could probably be the case. I'm just saying. Sorry.
Yeah, it can be. It can be.
Yeah, no, but it can definitely be that case as well. That's true. Which brings us to a little bit more serious topic with respect to this. I think manifestations also work better for individuals who have a much uncluttered mind. People who are better with meditation, people who are better with dhyana, people who are better with focus. I think also that manifestations would work better with them. Won't you agree?
Yes, I would
That's
definitely agree.
interesting.
Yeah.
No, Sylvia ji, you go ahead.
Yeah, because I'm thinking I have many examples of manifestation, which I don't want to say all of them, but with all the meditation and the practice that I'm doing, something that really changed is the speed of the manifestation. What I want to say is that 10 years ago, it took more time than it's taking me now. When I think of something, it manifests faster. So for me, it's much clearer because I'm like, oh my God, that's what I said 2 days ago, and it's manifested. And I think it's because really my mind is more empty or more clearer inside of me. So it's easier for the wish to come through or to go through all the things that I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I mean, there's a very interesting story with that Sadhguru shared, I think, in one of his talks, that there was a guy and he was going through a forest and he was very hungry. Man, he didn't have anything to eat or drink, and so he just nightfall. It was almost there, and he needed to find a place to rest. And so it was dusk almost, and he sat beneath this tree. And so he thought, it'd be great if I could just get something to drink. And all of a sudden, a drink appeared. And he's like, wow, that'd be so great. If I could have something to eat, that'd be good too. And all out of a sudden, something to eat also appeared. It was like, wow, that's amazing. I wish I could, get a little bit more, maybe some riches and maybe a feast and maybe this and that. And so he had an awesome feast with a lot of riches and everything. And he was like set for life. And then suddenly a thought came in his mind. What if there's a monster here? And so all of a sudden the monster appeared. And then suddenly a thought came into his mind. What if this monster eats me? And so the monster ate him. And so that vriksh, that tree was the kalpa vriksh, a wish fulfilling tree. And so Sadhguru said that, the point is that if you have a clear mind, the clear mind works quite a bit like that wish fulfilling tree. Anything you want, you can get. But that's the thing. That's the thing, that if your mind is not clear, if your mind is not in your control, you will end up manifesting a lot of things that are going to lead to your undoing. And I think that is why we have natural defenses against, in fact, even breaking free from a lot of problems that we have, because deep down, we are not completely convinced that the things that we do are going to be for our highest benefit. Right? I think that's there as well. Um, there's something, I mean, if you could elaborate on meditation a little bit more, Maulikji, that'd be great, and the impact that it can have with respect to improving mental health and improving, just improving the state of mind on a regular basis. What can you share
For sh-
with us?
yeah, for sure. So, as for the concept of meditation or the dhyana,
Yeah.
so dhyan, like as I gave some background on the yoga, it's a part of yoga. So I would like to explain like the all different limbs now, like the how does they work, how does they help in our mental aspect and everything, and what should we follow and what should not we should not do. So there are eight different limbs as we discussed like earlier. The first one is the yama. So it
Mm,
includes ahimsa, satya, asteya,
mm,
brahmacharya, and aprighya.
mm,
So what are they? So ahimsa is the non-violence.
mm,
So it's like we should not show any violence towards any living being.
mm,
So the violence is not only like physical, but it's also non-violence of the negative emotions. For example, we should not have any negative emotion, thought, or intention towards others, as others are extended versions of ourselves. So second is the astya, non-stealing. So it's like non-stealing anything from others, which also include their time, emotion, and emotions. So
mm,
be aware that we are asking people for permission from others when we are taking something from them. So the third is the brahmacharya,
mm,
directing your energy in the right direction.
mm,
So it helps in conserving your energy and putting it where it aligns and avoiding distractions. And the fourth is the satya,
mm,
that we should not lie at all. Even the small lies count as a lies. We are lying. Okay. So the fifth is the aprighya, which means not hoarding or not encircling. So hoarding is a egoistic tendency. So it's like you are saying you don't believe in the universe that it will take care of you. You are not believing in the universe. You are just hoarding things, like gathering it to yourself. It can be finance, knowledge, and example like this.
But
So it
aren't all of these principles related to yoga and not dhyan or meditation in particular? I mean,
so,
with it.
so these play an important part when you do dhyana. It makes the mind more clear and non-cluttered. Like
No.
you can focus more on dhyan through this. It
Okay.
when yeah, in the end it helps in going deep into the dhyanas.
Yeah, I mean,
So
obviously, if you have less guilt,
yeah,
I think,
yes,
you'd be able to center yourself a lot.
yeah,
But we'd have to ask how better vegans are at meditation for us to actually, I mean, I'm just saying, for us to actually be able to understand, how effective it is from that perspective. Uh, you know, uh, in terms of meditation, yeah, I mean, all of these principles can be very beneficial as well. But I imagine that a lot of great warriors were great at being able to meditate and align their mind towards a particular goal. And also, meditation is not really about arriving someplace or doing something or getting somewhere, but it's more about releasing your
yeah,
concept of yourself, right? And increasing more awareness. So I think, yes, we cannot perfectly do this,
yeah.
all
We
of the
can,
things
we
that you
can,
talked
yeah,
about, but
yeah,
the degrees that we can aspire to, because the
yeah,
more awareness that we bring into the picture,
yeah,
right, the more we're going to see, like, what's the point, like, with respect to a lot of these things, right? That's it.
yeah. You can like it's the yoga. It's like the starting of looking inside, looking inward. So you can slowly bring it whenever you're aware. Just start doing it slowly. It's never too late, never too quick. Okay, you can just start at any time.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. And so There's another thing that can be really beneficial with respect to the same topic of helping individuals deal with mental health ailments better, is taking advantage of frequency healing. And so maybe Braden ji can elaborate on that. And anybody who's watching this, if you're watching this this live stream on YouTube, you want to share your questions, you want to engage, please feel free to do so. And I'd be happy to take your questions as part of the session as well. Braden ji, if you could give us more idea about frequency healing, and I mean, does that really work? Because people look at it with a lot of cynicism. I personally really subscribe to it. I think that it really works. But what can you share with us?
Right. Frequency healing. So what is it? Frequency healing is the idea that vibration is medicine, that everything in existence, including our bodies, emotions, and thoughts, have a frequency. And by working with specific frequencies, we can realign ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It's rooted in both ancient wisdom and emerging quantum era science. Why does it help? Simply because everything is energy, right? The frequency of a habit in and of itself has the capacity to heal. For example, if one's body is stiff, they need to stretch. Stretching once is a great start, but that's only a piece of the puzzle. It must be put into practice and become a habit to truly make the body more flexible over time. Our bodies, organ cells, even our thoughts and emotions emit and respond to frequency. How effective is it? It's believed to relieve stress, depression, anxiety, and even pain within the body, but more research needs to be done with relation to the human body, especially since this is a non-invasive approach, potentially. So, I was looking into studies online about frequencies and how they have a positive effect on plants and their livelihood, which I thought was really cool and interesting. In the first one, it's titled Beyond Chemical Triggers, which can be found on the National Library of Medicine. The scientists state, we believe that sound wave treatment is a new trigger to help protect plants against unfavorable conditions and to maintain plant fitness. They put together a thorough demo of various plants treated by different frequencies for various durations and their effects. And they range across the board between like there's cotton, cucumber, lettuce, peas, maize, rice, and various times and hours and different frequencies and how they're affected by it. And to summarize, the frequencies helps the cells in a plant grow and multiply, increase flexibility, enhance the activity of protective enzymes, increased effects of natural hormones, increased sugars and proteins, and also created higher gene expression activity, which I thought was pretty phenomenal. I don't know. That's a lot of things, right?
Right. No, that really is, because yes, everything in nature is simultaneously a wave and also, what do you say, a particle. That's one of the perspectives from quantum mechanics, and how you look at the world, how you look at particles, how you look at matter. And so the right frequencies definitely should have some kind of an alignment in obstructing or aiding growth. So there's a very famous, would you say, there's a very famous small bit about how there's a tribe in Africa that when they want to bring down a tree, what they do is they just go to that tree every day and they say all kinds of bad things about that tree. And that tree ultimately rots and decays and falls down. And there is another, what you say, very famous African proverb that a boy who does not receive warmth from the tribe will burn down the village to feel that warmth. Long story short, what I'm trying to say here is that I think we have enough knowledge about it at a primal level also, from people who are living in harmony with nature, that frequency, that our thoughts, that our actions, that our speech that even our emotions do have an impact on the well-being of a person or entity, and from the perspective of their mental health as well, I would say, right? So for somebody, let's say, who suffers from anxiety or suffers from ADHD, are there any frequencies in particular that you would suggest? I know a few I could share, but from your end, anything that you'd like to suggest or recommend?
Well, supposedly 396 hertz helps with liberating guilt and fear.
Right.
And yeah, yes.
Triple one hertz helps with cleansing negative energy. 999 hertz helps with shamanic guidance. Right. I know a few of them. So yeah, I have felt that 111 hertz in particular. Yeah, you feel that quite a bit. I mean, you're encouraged to check it out. Just sit and breathe and put that in the background, and you're going to feel a lot lighter with it as well, I would say. Yeah.
Right.
There's another thing. Since we are talking about frequency, and there's so many topics that we've talked about. This is actually a gold mine of information here. This particular, edition that we've done. I am going to do my best to optimize it and share it. And so if you're watching it as well, and you can, share it with somebody who can use these things, please do that. And that is pranic healing. Because pranic healing sort of comes to the finer layer of what we're talking about with frequency healing, right? It's now coming down to the level of the energetic exchange that occurs without wanting or not wanting between living organisms. So maybe Sylvia ji, you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Yes, as we are mentioning that the use of any medicine can be like with side effects. I love the way that prana is, from my perspective, like never hurting. So the prana basically, it's a Sanskrit word that you will know better than me. That means the life force energy, the energy of the universe. And I really think, I'm being in the West, and I really appreciate the Western medicine for the urgent things. But talking about the mental health, I think the East part of the world been using the prana healing and the prana techniques for like thousands of years. Like in India, it's prana, and of course it's used in all the yogas and in pranayama and in the kriya and in Ayurveda as well. And the Chinese know it as a chi, and Japanese as a ki, and it's used in the martial arts, in techniques like Tai Chi and Qigong, and mentioning Japanese in Reiki as well. Reiki healing also works with the prana. And I really think that the great thing also is that it works very well in a distance as well. So if you have a confidence with somebody, you can actually really feel it, even if you are in Oregon or somewhere in the world, and the distance doesn't make any kind of border in between you. And another thing is that I mentioned the Qigong, but I think the pranic healing is amazing in the way that it actually like works by itself, that you don't have to do much to feel the effects of prana flowing in your whole being. And I think, I'm not sure, but I really think that we are talking about the alternative methods, that most of the viewers are aware that we have some like more subtle body, like that we can really work with our chakra system and with the nadis and with our astral body, and it really does affect the way we feel and the way we perceive the world.
Right.
in the Europe now, it's the forest bathing is something that is really like modern in these days, but I think it's been used to like since ever with the humans, that just spending the time in the nature, surrounded by the trees or by nature if there are no trees, you can really feel the level of your energy slowly going up. And I think it can take really just like half an hour, and if you come back after half an hour, you will feel different, you will think different, you will be more focused, and you will be more clear-minded, because the nature holds very high level of prana by itself, the high level of energy, to say, because it's always turned in a oneness, in unity. It's feeling correct, so it's vibrating
Right.
the harmony.
Yeah, absolutely. Meditating for, let's say, 20 minutes by a lake in a forest can do a lot more for you compared to pills, compared to, I would say, relying on even therapy. Yeah, that every form of healing has its own role. But pranic healing, I think, if you were to just go out in nature, in pristine surroundings, that will heal you much faster than anything can, because you
Absolutely. It's, me and my husband, we are both very sensitive. And if we go to the city, because I have family there,
right,
we do feel after one day, the drained, only because all the minds and all the stress is present in surrounding of the city. So going back to the nature, just going back heals us. We don't have to do much, only stay in the presence of this calmness, or of this I call it higher level of energy, actually, because we can
right,
feel it.
right. No, but I just have one quick question, on
Mm.
behalf of the people who are watching this. With pranic healing and with distance, healing, there can be a lot of scams, let's say, as well. I mean, how do you know what pranic healer? So going out in nature, connecting with nature, and that is actually something. And then practicing pranayama can definitely also be very beneficial in moving prana or life force through your body. So there is, by the way, no direct translation of prana to English,
Mhm.
because life force, that's the best that we can come up with. But prana is the life force that is, accompanies breath in and out of the body, right? That's what
Mhm.
prana is. So how would somebody who's new to this approach it? For example, you mentioned qigong, and so what advice can we give to somebody, let's say, who wants to rely on pranic healing to feel better, to improve their minds, to improve their mental balance, and things like that?
I think Mology was mentioning the meditation, and actually the meditation, the breathing starts to move and to harmonize the chakras. And the chakras are the ones that actually distribute all the prana in our bodies. And even in the old scriptures, in yoga, in these Shiva Samhita is mentioned that there are like 350,000 nadis in our body. And yeah, so basically the breathing and the techniques of meditation already moves, and they kind of start our self-healing. I would call it self-healing, because
Right.
yeah, you don't have to do the distance. You can just do it by yourself. And um, it brings out the life force, which will heal eventually, not only but the body, but the mind and anything in our system, which is more complex. We are mentioning the holistic approach, and
Right.
I think that's the most important, because
Right.
any pain will have any cause, and the prana knows how to heal it.
Right.
That's why I think it's so amazing.
You just have to get yourself in alignment with it. That's the idea, right? Then.
Yes, and the techniques, as I mentioned, Qigong or the breathing or the pranayama or the Kriya Yoga or the asana or the chanting, any of these, they all working with the prana. So something that is calling me or that I feel, like sympathy to can be for me the tool.
Right.
Everyone will have different, and the frequency healing as well. It's all the vibration thing. It's all the same source, I would say.
Right. Now we have a comment here by Neetaji. Light, including sunlight, is another source for healing. When we talk about pranic healing. And there's also a question here by Ben Thomas who says that what can you do for a debilitated Mars? Let's say you have a debilitated Mars. What kind of healing would you say recommend to this individual? Anyone? Anyone would like to have a go at that?
That's very interesting. That's interesting because my husband has debilitated Mars.
Debilitated Mars and
And what's his name? Ben?
Ben,
Who
right?
asked?
Yeah.
So that's my personal perspective, which you may correct, Jay, afterwards. But debilitated Mars very often has passive aggression syndromes.
Right.
Because the aggression cannot be expressed in the healthily way. So
Right.
I would work with the passive aggression. I would at least try to explain to the individual that the aggression is a good thing, that it's great to be aware of that I'm having it. And then I would try to find the ways how to express it.
Yeah, I mean, this brings me to a very important and sort of my specialty where I really work with these things in an awesome way. Is like hand mudras are one of the simplest tools that you have, by applying yogic principles that can alter your energy just like this. Because as you said, there's so many nadis in the body, right? Hand mudras actually alter the energy flow. And this is not something that you have to take my word for. You can just experiment, sit with that particular hand mudra, and you'll feel it. So, for example, somebody with a debilitated Mars, you have difficulty with respect to your solar plexus, expressing yourself properly, going after things that you want in an easy fashion, expressing your aggression as well. And so, for a person like that, the Prithvi Mudra can be very beneficial. Tip of the thumb touching the tip of the ring finger, both hands, just like this, raise upwards, resting on your knees. Maintain focus in the solar plexus region, the region below your rib cage, above your navel, and just breathe. Now, mantras are something that you can do along with it to raise the pranic level and cleanse your body and align it in the right way. For example, the mantra for the solar plexus, which is associated with Mars, is Ram. So this is a Vajrayana, tantric practice that deals with the chakras. So this is what you could do: hands in Prithvi Mudra, back straight, shoulders open. Take a deep breath, maintaining focus in your solar plexus region. Ram. Practice this every morning for, let's say, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And I can assure you, you will get into less fights. You will get into less arguments throughout the day because you will be able to apply and ground this energy in a better fashion. Another one of the things that you can often, also do is that, so you have Shani Mudra, tip of the thumb touching the tip of the ring finger. If you do it like this is a mudra that helps you inculcate more patience. You sit like this in the morning. Let's say you're going through Saturn Madasha, or let's say in general, you face difficulties with respect to patience, with respect to Saturnian elements in your life. Meditating in the morning with it, and this, with a slight change, can become Shunya Mudra, like this, right?
Oh.
Right? Yeah, like this. And so Shunya Mudra can help you feel empty, which can be very beneficial when, there's a lot of chatter that you want to sort of shut down, in your mind. And quite often that chatter can be chatter that you've unconsciously absorbed from people around you, right? That's something. So hand mudras, I think, can be very beneficial when used in conjunction with all of these things. And so that's just something that I'm sharing with the viewers here. Let's see if anybody has any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Please share. It would be a good idea to share your questions. We'd be happy to answer them. Anybody at all? Anyways, so I'll just check back on this space again. Coming back here once again, talking about this. So there are mudras that help you improve your focus, mudras that help you ground yourself, motivate yourself, and soothe yourself. Since we're talking about mental health, let me just share all of them at one go. So I shared a few here. Now, when we are talking about mudras that help you ground yourself, Dhyana mudra is, easy. Left hand on top of the right, the tip of the thumbs touching like this. And just keep this in your lap, back straight, shoulders open, feet balanced. Breathe. And the moment you do this and you just close your eyes and observe your energy, you're going to begin to feel a lot more balanced immediately. This is the Dhyana mudra. Okay. And in the same way, mudras for better focus. For better focus, if there's a lot of mental chatter, you can use Shunya mudra, you can use Shani mudra, or you could just use Jnana mudra. Just sit like this. So let's say you're doing a task, and it's something that I used to utilize quite often in the early days, when I started my practice. I used to make Jnana mudra with my left hand, keep it in my lap, and just continue doing what I did. And you'll be surprised at place it near your right below your navel, right, in your lap. And if you just maintain your posture, a free energy flow, back straight, shoulders open, you will find that you are able to focus a lot more, much better on the tasks at hand. So mudras coupled with, pranic healing, coupled with, frequencies, and, a lot of other tools that we've talked about. With a structured program, you're really able to do quite a bit with it. Quite a bit. And this is actually one of the things that we, that I do with my clients that we should do as part of creating an independent, program for whatever it is that you want to align yourself towards. Now, if you can sit in a particular mudra with a particular frequency in the background and focusing on a particular goal, I'm pretty sure that you will be able to manifest it much better because you're aligning yourself through all the means available in a particular direction, right? It's going to happen much, much easier, much faster. That's just something that I thought I'd share. What are your thoughts, guys? For
I would
example,
definitely agree. Like
yeah,
combining all these would be like very much effective. Like getting frequency in mudras, mantras, and visualizing on that thing. It would be definitely more like far more effective.
right. And so mantras are also one of the most important aspects that quite often, can be ignored because it's common. People think that they know a lot about mantras, but I don't think so. I think a basic approach can be a good idea to introduce it here at this point. What are mantras for the layman?
I really think like everyone in the West here knows mantras, but until I discovered that, we were mentioning the meditation thing, and I've been doing like 10 years the meditation when you just watch your thoughts, because it's the Buddhist type of approach. And it didn't have at all the effect when, like the mantras do, when I started chanting the mantras. The Sanskrit word again, it says that the mantra is man, is mind, and tra is like a tool for a mind.
Mantra.
But also when we were mentioning like the individual charts, there are so many, like probably endless mantras and
Right.
very many, I would say, like powerful known ones and then less known ones. But because we are living in such a like very fast world, I would really say that even 4 or 5 minutes a day will make a big change. And what is it? Well, it's a chant, it's a small word or short verbs, but it makes vibration. The same as we were mentioning the prana or the healing, the chanting itself makes vibration, which is changing the way we think, or changing the changing the mind of ours. Which, yeah, I really think it's very powerful, and I say it from my own experience. It's I started with 5 minutes, and now I would love to chant like all day long if I would have the all day.
Yeah. And what's the most important change that you saw as a result of integrating that mantra practice?
It's a very personal question, but disintegration from my ego, I would say.
Yeah.
I have a space where I can choose what I will say, what I will do, how will I do it, and there is a piece of space that came with it. And it's the most amazing thing I ever experienced. Yeah, the empty empty piece, I would call it. But I was mentioning it when we talked about manifestation as well. Everything comes easier, faster, better. My life is different because of mantras. Yes.
Right. 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 No.
And
So.
you were mentioning the concrete nakshatras, and my
Right.
nakshatra is Mula and is complicated. And it's the power with this nakshatra became a real power, because I think power can be used only when you can actually cooperate with it, when you are not drawn by it. Yeah.
Right. Right. Amitji says, Jay sir, please keep doing your work. Really keeps me sane. Thank you so much. That was a lot of motivation. And I would also like to give due credit to these wonderful individuals that I've been working with. And that has also helped me feel good about what I do. And doing it with people, really gives you that sense of that alignment, that collective goal and that achievement. Because, after all, you can't do anything alone. You need people along with you, right, to do it, to reach towards that particular thing. Uh, and I think mantras as well, quite often people don't realize, a lot of these cynics who say that, so I don't know Sanskrit. How the hell is this mantra going to work for me? Right? That's what you say, right? Everybody knows that ma, mom, or mother is usually what people are going to use for your mother, right? It doesn't matter if I don't speak that language. What's going to happen if I go to a place and I start shouting ma, 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 ma? Some lady, big enough to be my mother is probably going to look at me in a materialistic way, overcome in that fashion, and say, "What's the problem, my child?" That's what's likely to happen, right? Right. In the same way, if there is a if there is if there is an abusive word and somebody doesn't know it, what's going to happen? If you start chanting it out there, somebody's going to go and come and punch your face eventually. Doesn't matter if you know it or not. I think this is something also which is very important, that as a species, we have this unique ability of defining a collective vibration, a collective projection towards this is what it means, this is what we're defining that it means. And so there's so much collective force and momentum in that particular direction. I think that is what mantras could also be. For example, battle cries or war cries that are part of a particular clan or part of a particular tribe. In many ways, that function quite a bit like their mantra. That used to mobilize the collective force in that direction, motivate everybody to do that, to reach out to that, right? And I would also like to add here that there are some mantras which can be great for focus, some for balance, for work. I just like to share a couple of mantras here. One mantra which I am a huge fan of, and any of my clients, etc., watching this, that's Hum Bij mantra. Anybody who has difficulty speaking out, Hum Bij mantra is what you need to practice. Focus at this point below your larynx, at the base of your throat. Take a deep breath. And this is where you can couple this up with hand mudras. For example, Shankh mudra is good for stimulating the throat chakra, right? You take a deep breath, you focus at this point. Hum. Do this a few times at the start of your day. You're going to be able to express yourself better. Mantras that can help you feel more balanced. So there's a Buddhist mantra that works very well for it. Very simple. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, right? Om Mani Padme Hum. These simple mantras, which correspond with finding the balance that you seek within yourself. Mantras need not only be limited to one particular culture. There could be mantras as part of Sanskrit. There could be mantras as part of, Buddhist mantras as well that you can utilize. At the end of the day, the mantra that will work for you will depend on the energies that you are working with or struggling with and want to manifest into your life, right? So that is something that I would say. But Om with the Gyan Mudra works for most people, right? As I said, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo can also work for most people. And so, yeah, grounding yourself and cleansing effects of plants also is something that we discussed. Grounding yourself can be something, for example, if you really want to motivate yourself and you are feeling low on willpower, you can make this mushti mudra like this. Just keep your hands like this, grip them really hard and place the back of your, palms on your knees and breathe. So this is all something that can be very beneficial. There are lots of different techniques, tons of them. The point for this entire podcast, for us to come together and share all of these things with you, is to illustrate that while it may seem like you've tried everything and it hasn't worked, while it may seem like that, you are now, condemned to a certain ailment, like I just have ADHD, I cannot improve from it, I only need to rely on pills. I just have depression and I only need to rely on them. And talking about these topics, in fact, also puts this stream at a disadvantage because YouTube is quite sensitive with respect to promoting or sharing this kind of content. But what I want to say to you is that if you've been dealing with these problems, there's a whole different world out there. And based on, as we have illustrated, as Vedant-ji, Maulik-ji, and Sylvia-ji have illustrated, based on a lot of studies that have been done that prove the efficacy, that verify the efficacy of these things, these strategies, these principles in bringing about healing to people who have struggled with all other forms of healing, and they just turn to holistic life coaching as a last resort, and that sort of really flips the script and opens up a completely different world for them. So anything that you guys would like to add and share with the viewers, please feel free to do that. Breathwork, affirmation, we've talked about so many things today.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to because I know for me at first, like getting into meditation was hard. Like it was the last thing that I wanted to do. And so what I ended up eventually doing was just incorporating it into another habit that I was already practicing, which was running. I like to run. That was how I meditated or detached from the noise in my mind. And so what I did is what I do now is in the middle of my runs, I'll stop and I'll sit down somewhere in nature and I will set my phone for an alarm for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and I will just sit there and breathe. And incorporating that has really helped me with anxiety. So yeah, I just wanted to share that bit.
Yeah, no, that definitely must work out so well. because you've already brought yourself into a grounded state while running. You've released a lot of the extra energy that you're carrying around. And so meditating then definitely works very well. Yeah, absolutely. Sylvia ji, Maulik ji, anything you'd like to add to that? Share?
Just thinking about that grounding, that I always envy the people that live in the warm places like you do. I lived for many years in Spain, and I love to walk barefoot. And of course, we have 6 months very cold weather. But walking barefoot, even in the city, it doesn't matter. But if there is enough warm weather, for me, I love it. I just love it, and I feel different every night when I walked the whole day with barefoot, touching the ground. Yeah. So
Yeah, don't worry, we can swap houses for a while. You can come stay here in the humidity here in Delhi for a while, and I can go there. I would love to be at a cold place. I would just absolutely love it to not have
very,
it around.
very alone because there's nobody here.
A lot of prana. Don't worry. The reindeers and the forest and the bears and the wolves.
And horses.
What? And horses, yeah, yeah,
Horses.
horses. Yeah. We didn't get to talk a lot about horses. That's
No, we will do it next time.
yeah. We'll do that again. Maulik ji,
Yeah.
what do you want to
So,
add, share, to all of this as we're wrapping this up?
yeah, definitely. So I would like to add to the frequency healing part.
Mm.
So I've been familiar to it for about like 1.5 years, and I use it regularly actually. So I've actually recommended it to a lot of people, and it all works always. At any time, it works always on them. So the one frequency I would recommend is 432 hertz. It helps in stress reduction, sleep, and in reducing the anxiety. So
What
that's
frequency? Sorry, what's the number?
432. 432.
432. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And it can be also beneficial for Rahu-Moon people actually. Like it.
Oh,
And if someone is having difficulty to start meditating, they can start with frequency meditations because it will be a lot easier to calm their mind down and start it. And
mhm.
also, there's an interesting fact, like if you notice, like the frequencies and numbers always end up in 3, 6, or 9. The Nikola Tesla numbers 3, 6, 9.
I didn't know that. Interesting. And what's the logic behind it?
I think it's all related to vibration, energy, and frequencies. I, I'm not too sure, did not
Uh,
do too
No,
much
we can go.
research into it,
Don't
but
worry, we can go deeper into it and bring it out next time. 3, 6, and 9 of these vibrations. Yeah. No, I think we covered a lot of great points today. One thing that was left that we also wanted to talk about, I think, breathwork and affirmations. And breathwork and affirmations, I think, also are along the same lines.
yeah,
Breathwork is the
yeah.
Kriya Yoga part of it, right? Maliki, please
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, I already included in the examples like before, what should we do in breath work? And for the affirmations, we can do like affirmations, you can do the chakra affirmations according to which chakra you think is unbalanced. For example, if you think your root chakra is unbalanced, which root chakra represents stability, security, and grounding, you can affirm like yourself with like I am safe, secure, and grounded, or I trust the universe to support me. For the sacral chakra, which represents creativity, emotion, and pleasures, you can do affirmations like I embrace my creativity and flow with inspiration. So the third is the solar plexus chakra, which represents confidence, personal power, and willpower. So you can do affirmations like I am powerful, strong, and confident. I trust myself and my decisions. So fourth is the heart chakra, which represents love, compassion, and connection. You can do affirmations like I give and receive love freely and unconditionally. My heart is open to compassion and healing. And the throat chakra affirmation can be I speak my truth with confidence and clarity. And for the third heart chakra, if you want to do affirmations, which represents intuition, wisdom, and inner version, so you can affirm yourself with I trust my intuition and inner wisdom. And for the crown chakra, you can affirm yourself with I'm connecting to the infinite wisdom of the universe. So there's also like a forgiveness prayer. Like it was actually in Hindi. I translated it. I regularly do it because it helps a lot. Because nowadays a lot of people are stuck in not forgiving, not letting go. So it actually helps a lot. So it is like Oh God, ever since my soul has started its journey in this world, from then till now, if I have done any harm to anyone knowingly or unknowingly, I ask for forgiveness from them. Oh God, ever since my soul has been born in this world, from then till now, if anyone has done any harm to me knowingly or unknowingly, I forgive him. So
Right.
it's like that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And obviously, if you want to learn all of this in detail, if you want to learn the right mantra with the right chakra, with the right mudra, with what is going to work, please apply for the course, the Astro Life Coaching Practitioner course. Over there, there's only limited things that we can cover in what you say 2.5 3 hours, but that's a long course spread over 3 months. 10 lectures and a lot of other things as part of it. That is where you, in a structured way, starting from the basics, you can work with understanding. Okay, this is how you analyze a chart. This you analyze a person. This is how you find out what is likely to work for that person, and the exercises, etc. As such. And yes, a chance to interact with us wonderful people as well, be a part of the tribe. So yeah, but I think we've shared a lot of great things here for the benefit of our viewers, right? And we should wrap this up. Today, by the way, is a very auspicious day in North India. It's Baisakhi, so happy Baisakhi, everybody. Yesterday was the Purnima, and it was the Chaitra Purnima, and so Lord Hanuman's birthday, Hanuman Jayanti. So happy Hanuman Jayanti as well, everybody. So thank you so much for attending this particular podcast, this talk. Let's wrap this up with some mantras. Um, Mantras for Lord Shiva, and then general mantras to lead us to light and completion. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Subandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukameva Bandhanat Mrityurmokshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukameva Bandhanat Mrityurmokshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukumiv bandhanath mrityurmokshiyamamritat. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukbhag bhavet. Om asato ma satgamaya, samso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma mritam gamaya. Om purnamada purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamave vashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. We thank the universe for giving us an opportunity to create this wonderful energy, to interact, to tap into its secrets, to share this knowledge for betterment, for our betterment and the betterment of society, betterment of others. Thank you for leading us to light and enabling us to lead others to their highest expression as well. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. So, thank you so much. We have finally completed the first episode live of our podcast. So that's a great achievement. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care. Hari Om.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.